Okay, so now we're going to create a function. It's going to be a very simple function. It's just for learning purposes. What I want to do here is to create a button, and when I click on this button, it's going to populate the description field with some like random text, right? Like I said, it's quite simple just for learning purposes. This function could do anything really. It could call an external platform, it could do some kind of like complex calculation, but it's just to show you guys what it's possible to create with the functions part of Jester, right? So the first thing that we're going to do here is to create function, right? So I'm going to go to the low code area, and here in functions, I'm going to click on new function. I'm going to name it add description. Cool. So now I can choose one of the programming languages. I'm going to use Python, but as of now we have .NET and PHP as well. So we're going to click on save. There you go, and this creates the function. And if I click on it, you guys are going to see that like there's nothing here because I haven't coded anything yet. So what do I do here? Well, first of all, it runs on Python because that's what I selected before. But there's also a couple of things that are specific to Jester. So if I go to our documentation and go to Python native methods, I'm going to see all of the variables that I have. And one thing that you have to keep in mind is that functions and triggers, they have almost all of the same variables, but some are context specific. And this means that some variables only exist in functions and some only in triggers. But you can read on this document and it's going to be a little bit more clear. And aside from the variables, what I have here is also a list of native methods inside Jester, because you probably know Python if you're using it, but how do you create something in Jester, right? So we have native methods that are specific to Jester. So as you guys can see, I can create a record, edit a record, delete, search for something, and so on. Okay, so what I want to do here is create a button that when I click on it, it's going to add a description. So basically, it's going to edit the record. It's going to update the record, right? So we're going to go to edit record, and we're going to just copy and paste this. And if I read the documentation, I'm going to see that when I click on a button, all of the information from the record, it's going to be in this variable record data. So I'm going to copy this as well and put it right here for now. I want to update a record in a table. So first I have to get the ID of the table, right? So it's this table, local table. So I'm going to go to it here. I'm going to get the ID. And then I'm going to update the record, and I have to pass the ID of the record. Every record has a specific ID. It's ID underscore the ID of the table. This is also in the documentation. And then I'm just going to change the description field to updated. Now I'm going to click on save. Okay, so let's go back to the table. Let's create a button, an automation button. It's going to be update description. We can add an icon here, and we're going to connect to an automation. So now we're going to add an automation. The type is going to be run a function. And this will allow me to select a specific function that I've created, like add description, which I've just created. I'm going to click on create and save, and this is going to assign that automation to this button. Okay, so let's check if it works. So here you go. For the bunny record, I'm going to click on update, and it added the description. So like I said, you could do more complex stuff, but this is just for learning purposes. The rest of it is basically just thinking about it and doing a little bit of low code in Python.